Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. It's a new week, and we thought we'd brought something out that I've not seen in a long, long time. These landed with us at the weekend. Oh, sorry, I say this landed with us at the weekend, so we'll go through what it is, its features, why it's cool, why you probably want one, need one, don't want to lift it, but yeah, we'll come on to that in a sec. So any questions on this at all, any features it's got, its capabilities or anything like that, drop them in the comments below. We'll go through what tricks it has, what it's capable of, and why you're probably going to want one. So this is the MA5B individual combat weapon system. Might be very, very obvious for some people where it's come from, but obviously this is strictly built off a computer game design. And I'll go off the bat that this thing is 4.5 kilos, so I'm going to try and keep it on the table as much as possible. So we'll start at the front and work our way back. And if you've got any questions, just drop them down, and we'll try and get them up as soon as we can. Oh, we're getting them straight away. Adam on Facebook, what's the FPS on this? So off the bat, FPS on this is about 307, plus or minus a couple, depending on if you're using a 7.4 LiPo or an 8.4 NIM. But yeah, you're getting about 307 FPS with about, I think, is it 10 to 12 rounds a second? Again, battery dependent, sorry. So the battery dependent is on your rounds per second, not your FPS. Your FPS is going to reasonably stay the same between batteries. Features-wise, so we'll go to the front. There is no thread on the front of this, so unfortunately you can't put any suppressors or anything, but if you're getting this, you're getting it for what it is, and you're not really going to change anything on it. If you're wanting to get your hands on this, you've got crazy dreams to inspire to be 7.5 foot tall and run around in loads of armor. So this thing is all polymer, like absolutely. There's a very, very little bits of metal on it. These little brass screws are metal, and there's some other, obviously internally there'll be some metal parts as well, but this is all polymer and rubber to try and save some weight. But again, I've said before, it's 4.5 kilos, and you do know about it. Even when this thing's shouldered, you do know about it. So you'll see down here, this isn't a second barrel, this is actually a torch, and it is functioning. So you need a AAA battery in your torch. This thing needs 3 batteries to operate. You need a battery in the front, a battery up here, and a battery down here. So we'll go through the different batteries. 2 of them you need for this to work, the front one you don't. So the torch is optional if you're wanting it. So you need a AAA battery, and then there's a switch on this side, that's a little button there, and that turns your torch on and off. So you can turn the torch on and off with that. And again, you don't have to run that. You could just take the battery isn't necessary for that. Coming back, you have the sort of knurled grip at the bottom to make it as comfy as it can possibly be. With this thing being quite heavy, you're going to need as much grip as you can on it. Coming back, the magazine is housed just under here. I'll leave it in for now, but it is a high cap magazine. I think it's between 160 and about 200 rounds. So it is quite a short magazine, but you can roll it on a high cap there. As far as I'm aware, there are no mid caps for this. The magazine that comes with it is the only magazine for it. But if you're buying this, 9 times out of 10, this is either for cosplay or just for a bit of fun. Coming to the top, you have a so the polymer at the bottom and the polymer at the top are slightly different. This is more of a plastic style, and this is more of a rubberized polymer down here. So up here is the shell at the top, and it has the brass screws in there just for show. They don't have any function or anything. It's all just part of the design. Obviously, this doesn't have any optics or iron sights at all, so you are going to be sort of firing and then guessing and moving off and stuff like that. But again, if you're using this thing, you're in it for the immersion. You're not super in it for being a meta gamer or anything like that. You're just purely out to have a chunk of fun. So we'll come on to what this thing can do. So a little bit further back, we do have the mag release there, and then there's another button back here. So because I've not seen these in such a long time, it took me a long time to get this thing functioning and firing, because I completely forgot what you had to do. So there is a 9-volt battery in the stock here, and then you have a normal 7.4 or an 8.4, 7.4 or an 8.4 NIM in the bottom here. So there's a little switch, a little clip at the bottom. This comes out a little bit like a magazine. You put your battery in, and then the stock comes off, and you put a 9-volt battery in. It still then does not fire unless you press this button here. And then it all turns on as if by magic. So you've got a couple of LEDs on that side and a couple on this side. And then you also have a counter. So currently, it might be difficult to see, but there is currently a 95 on there. Again, this does not function without a magazine in. So for the trigger to function on this, you need a 9-volt battery in, you need an Airsoft battery or LiPo or a NIM in, and you need the magazine in. Once you've then pressed that button, it will all light up and this will show 95. With the magazine out, it shows 00, and when you're firing, this does count down every single BB that you fire, and then when it hits 0, it will stop firing. You just simply drop the mag out, wind it a little bit, stick it back in, and it hits the mag switch, and it resets to 95. Semi-safe and everything like that is done on a toggle switch here. So you have safe and semi. If you are wanting to, you have fire and safe, and then your semi and full auto is done by the switch. So when I turn it around again, you can see the 95. You press this, it then goes on to F. If you press it again, and you can toggle between semi-fire and fire. So you do have semi-auto and full auto on this. It is just kind of a preset determination, and then you can go from there. But exceptionally cool bit of kit, extremely well made, super heavy. But I mean, look at it. It is super cool. And if this is the thing that you're after, then I totally understand that. Once you're finished with it, the button that I've done to toggle the fire and anything, if you press and hold, it then, when he does it correctly, it then shuts down. So you press and hold it, wait until it says 95 again, it then powers down, and it means your batteries are not being wasted or anything like that. So coming to the back, I'll show. So this has a little toggle in it, slides down, and that's where the LiPo or NIM goes, in the bottom there. The 9-volt battery, if you peel the stock off, there's a rubber cap at the back here, and then you'll find the 9-volt battery at the back. And then that can go back on. And then the magazine release, pressing that, brings this out. And then inside here is, at the front, is where the micro switch is. So you do have to have the magazine in. And it's just a simple magazine, high cap. The feed goes to the back of the platform. So normally you put them in that way. Just make sure it goes in that way. And it does fit and lock in all nice and cool. And then you press it and you're good to go. Stephen on YouTube. Can we see what it looks like when you shoulder it? Absolutely, because it's super heavy. So when it's shouldered, it sits up like this. And when you do look down, you can kind of use this rubber gauge here as a little bit of an iron sight. But obviously with the barrel being so low, you are sort of semi-guess firing. So it is extremely big, probably not a 1-to-1 for what the standard platform that this comes from is. But if you just want something different, something cool, and something that I've probably only ever seen on an airsoft site once in maybe 10-ish plus years, maybe 15 years. I saw one at a CQB site, and a guy ran around using it, and he was having an absolute whale of a time because it does do semi-auto and it does do full auto. But yeah, so it is functional. It is quite capable of running at a site and being super different and super cool. And again, like we've always said on most of our shows, if you like it and it's how you want to play, then it's how you want to play. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't run this at a site, because you can. But if that's, I'll quickly go through the features again for anyone that's joined us recently. So as we've normally said before, like normal platforms have 40mm counterclockwise threads or threading at the front to add traces or anything. Unfortunately, this doesn't. It is fixed. You could probably 3D print something to mount something on there if you wanted to. I think if you're running around with this and you want some tracer rounds coming out of it, I'd probably try and turn the mag into a tracer mag instead of changing the external look of this thing. The torch at the front, which is here, is controlled by a button on the right hand side, which is at the front here. Pressing that, it is a toggle switch, so it's a nice click, and the torch turns on and off. That takes a single AAA battery. Coming back, the magazine is under here, and it is a high cap magazine with a winding wheel, and your mag release is just there. Coming back, I believe this is where the magazine is on the its real counterpart, if you want to call it that in the game, but instead this actually comes out and is your battery compartment. The stock does come off and is a secondary battery compartment because you need a 9-volt battery in the back and a 7-port or an 8-4 battery here. What type size LiPo does it take? I will take this little slot out here and you can see. So what they've done is I've put a NIM battery in here because quite conveniently, so this whole back end here is a battery compartment for the magazine, but this is quite solid. But what they've done is they've made that the perfect size for a NIM battery. So that's why we say 7.4 or 8.4 NIM, because that fits perfectly in that slot that they've made, and then your wiring has plenty of space up there. You can get roughly the similar size 7.4 lipos, that's why we suggest them, but that is how that fits in the back. So again, as I was saying before, you need all three components of this for this to fit and work, and I'm putting that in the wrong way around. So you need all three components of this to fit and work. So you need the 9-volt battery in the back. You need a 7.4 or an 8.4 battery in the back grip there. You then need to press this little button at the back. It will power up with the LEDs and the counter. Once it's all powered up, you have your toggle fire/safe switch here. So once it's in safe, it locks the trigger out and you can't pull it. Once it's in fire, you have full auto or semi, depending on which setting you have set. And if we come back here, you can see the 95 there. So every time you put the mags in, it resets at 95. And when you pull the trigger, it counts down every single BB. Once it hits 0, the weapon shuts down. And then you have to take the mag out, make sure it's not touching the mag switch, flick it back in. It will reset to 95. If you press this button at the back again, you'll see you can then toggle between fire, semi-fire, fire, semi-fire, let go, and it comes back to the 95. To shut it down, you press and hold, comes back, powers down. So it means all your 9-volt battery is not getting wasted or anything like that. You just shut it down and you're all good to go. One final feature that I've not mentioned is there is a slider here. Slides backwards, forwards. That is actually your hop. So it's super easy to find and adjust. It is just simply on a slider, and it just on the inside, and it's really, really easy and accessible. It's in a little bit of a recess, so it's not going to get knocked if you're rushing around or anything. I would definitely not try and do that with gloves, because it is seriously recessed and very, very deep in there. So it's a very decent design, maybe accidental, but it sort of works out for the best. But if that's everything on this, it has been the MA5B individual combat weapon system. Very, very popular, especially with certain things coming out soon. If you want to get hold of one, this is it. So we do not see these very, very often. We had them in the shop previously, and they were quite popular. To say how popular they were, and I've only seen one on a site. I'd love to see more, because being an individual is much cooler than probably following the crowd, maybe. But if that's everything for today, I hope you've enjoyed it. It's always good to talk to you, and we hope to see you for the rest of our live streams this week. We'll be back at 4 p.m. every day with something new, hopefully. We've got loads and loads of new stuff dropping soon. But again, as always, if you've got something you want us to do a live stream, if you go on a product on the website and there is not a video underneath it already and you want to know more about it, ping us a message. Instagram's probably the fastest and easiest way to get hold of us. And 9 times out of 10, if you have a suggestion, we'll throw it to the top of the list and probably do it sooner rather than later, because we'd rather talk about things that you want to talk about rather than stuff that we just find every now and again that are cool. Yes, they're cool, but we want to talk about what you want to talk about. So that's everything. I'll catch you in a bit.